we got the Federal Reserve meeting today, so we're gonna be talking about the results of that. That's big, talking about inflation and the future trajectory of what's going on. So we breaking down what's going on, man. So Monday, right? Monday, China DRAM. We talked about what that means. Go ahead and watch the previous Wealth Wednesdays. We've been talking about the memory companies, right? And you were right last week. Random access memory. That's what RAM stands for.
Touchdown.
The China DRAM capacity scare triggered a broad chip sell-off. Over $1 trillion wiped from U.S. equities, with roughly $541 billion of that concentrated in 6 memory names. Right. So the top memory companies had a dip on Monday. So this will cause us to open. We had a gap up overnight, but then opened and went from 744. I was talking about that level of 743 as a resistance level, and I was saying, hey, we could easily come above tomorrow and act like we're going up higher, and then reject and test this level. And that's exactly what we did on Monday. So we ended up coming up a little bit above after we opened up at this level of 744, after we gapped up from Friday from 738 to 744, and then went straight to the downside to that level, and then came right back up, right? So they was talking about China, the DRAM capacity. So there was some type of scare. I don't even got the data here, but some way, somehow, China ended up coming out with something that scared a broad chip sell-off over here. I think it was something to do with maybe a company over there having cheaper chips, right? And they'll be able to have more demand for the companies here than Micron and all the top memory companies, because they're been bought out so much and their demand may slow down, and they may be going to get cheaper that's how they thinking, cheaper for better, right? And that scared the stock market. The same thing that happened with DeepSeek. You remember last year with DeepSeek AI? So this is what happens, man. This is actually a common pattern. You'll see, the top U.S. companies doing well, then out of nowhere, China says that their top companies are going to have something for cheaper, and then companies look there and it causes the stock market to drop. My personal opinion, I don't think this is any reason for you to be scared. I think this is a buying opportunity, right? These companies ran up. We was talking about the zone to buy SMH, the semiconductor ETF, last week. We went all the way as low as 504. Our zone was 528, right? These guys ran up a lot. So for them to have around 20% from their high, a pullback that's 20% from their high, I mean, that's a buying opportunity, right? You don't want to put everything in here. So if you got 500, maybe put like 200 right here, because it could possibly go lower. You might see 435 and get a better discount and put the extra 200 there, right? So SMH dropped, right? So that's the semiconductor ETF. DRAM, right, dropped all the way as low as 47%. We talked about this last week. So now we was talking about the percentage of getting it at 55. We was talking about it last week, 55 as a percentage compared to 48 as a percentage. Now we hit 47, even a low of 44. With that being percent, that turns your 80% to 124%. And this is $47, man. We know you got $47. I actually get the paycheck hitting tomorrow. I'm going to dollar cost average into DRAM. That's $47, man. You get to take advantage of these shares, man. So, you got anything to say about any of the
Was NVIDIA infected?
That's exactly where we was going next. NVIDIA was also affected, man. You want to break it down for us?
Yeah, and this happened on Monday, right?
Yeah. So this happened Monday.
Yep. So we see the, was it a news article? Was it news?
Yeah, it was news.
Okay,
it was headline news.
Headline news. We had that on Monday. Bang, you see, we dropped below. Was this where it was like a good area to be like, hey, this is a low right here.
Yeah, this is support. This is the support area right here.
Okay, see, bang, we came down to this low and we broke below it just a little bit, and from the high where we were at, it's a 20% dip, just like DRAM. 20% dip, man. This would have been a great time to load up.
That was SMH.
Oh, SMH, my fault.
Yes, sir. Yeah, SMH. 20% dip on SMH, 20% dip on NVIDIA, man. These are prime companies. Is exactly where you want to look at. NVIDIA is also $200, man. Yep. Jackets cost $200. A nice hoodie, a nice
pair of shoes.
You know what I'm saying? 200. So, you know, these companies is dropping, man, and take advantage. You know what I'm saying? So that was what happened on Monday. Like we said, over 1 trillion wiped from U.S. equities, with roughly 541 billion of that concentrated into 6 memory names, right? So
Half. It's crazy.
so boom. Tuesday. So we also had Tuesday. Let's go back to the SPY chart on a daily time frame once again. Each candle represents a day, y'all. A day. So Tuesday is that next day after that big red candle. We recovered and ended up going to the upside a little bit, right? So Tuesday, we ended up getting a sell-off extended overnight into Asia. So in Korea, right, over there in Korea, the Korea's been getting a lot of movement because they got the memory names, top memory companies over there. So they had the steepest single-day drop since the early days of the U.S.-Iran conflict in March. But U.S. indices decoupled, right? Down, all that stuff doesn't matter. NASDAQ roughly flat as failing oil and earnings optimism offset chip weakness. So the earnings optimism, we also got big earnings coming in this week. Meta reports after it closed. We also got SoFi that we'll be talking about that reported before the close. I believe Apple reports this week. And Amazon. Ooh, my bad. Need the water.
Had to take a sip right now. I feel it. Nah, you see, we got a lot to unpack, man. SoFi had their earnings today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
Tuesday we recovered a little bit. Right here, you see why these levels are so important, right? If you guys been paying attention to the SPY breakdowns, I've been putting the levels up in there so you guys can capitalize them. But right here, we came down to this level, bounced off of it, went up to the upside. We closed at 740, man. And today, you see what's going on. You know, today is always a wonky day when they got the Fed meeting because the Fed meeting moves a lot. But also Tuesday night, we had the oil jump.
Ooh.
So from right here, crude oil jumped and U.S. equity index futures fell after fighting erupted in the Middle East, reigniting tensions after several days of calm, right? Boom, boom, boom. After the U.S. military said it intercepted an Iranian attempted surprise attack on regional troops. This lands directly on top of. So boom, they had a surprise attack from Iran. That's nothing really new, but everything was going well, and I guess Iran hit them with a surprise attack, and that hit the market and hit the oil out of nowhere, causing the oil to go high, and now we got the market hitting the lows and coming right back up, right? So that was Tuesday. Then we got obviously Wednesday. We're about to talk about today, but so the ticker SK Hynix, which is the top memory company along with Samsung and Korea, and they also just got into the U.S. stock market. They're down 41.5% for July, on pace for worst month since October 2008. Ooh. So you got Samsung. Samsung on Tuesday had their worst day in 20 years. So the Roundhill Memory ETF, that's the DRAM ETF that we like to talk about. This is direct exposure to those type of companies in that memory sector, right? So that's why they ended up having the pullback as well. We also see Nvidia getting hit by that, and they fell 5% on Monday, right? So all the memory, semiconductor, all that stuff that was running up, it got hit. These are prime time opportunities, absolutely, man. You know, so no reason to be afraid. We got Meta reporting after close Wednesday. That happens at 1:00, so we'll post that into the Discord. Unless we're still live. What time is it? Hey, if we're still live, we're still live. So we have SoFi earnings, man. So SoFi had their